Oh, gotta quickly get that music turned off. Good evening, and thank you for joining me again. My name is Swamp Rose, or Kiki, whatever you'd like to call me. And tonight we have a special program. We're going to be going over the new documents in the case against Bryan Kohberger. And I actually have some special guests to introduce you tonight. We have Robert from True Crime Cult joining us. Hi, Robert.
Hello.
And we also have Gia Peru, my co-producer, who's joining us from her channel, Gia Peru.
Hi all.
And we're going to have A.R. Hayes from Convict Socks joining us shortly. He is going to be here on his own time, so he'll be here shortly. And we're going to begin our program with Gia. Gia is going to be going over some legal documents. So while Gia introduces that, I'm going to pull up our first document.
Okay, so you pull it up and scroll it as I read it.
Absolutely. And I have the defendant's response to the state's motion to limit testimony. Is that the one you're doing first?
Yep. Sure. Okay, so I'm going to read it, and then there's places that I'm going to just kind of skip over that are just, like the cases and, the case sightings. I'm not going to bore everybody by reading every single punctuation. But yes, this is the defendant's response to the state's motion to limit testimony. Comes now Bryan Kohberger by and through his attorneys of record and hereby submits the following response to the state's motion to limit testimony filed May 10th. In the state's motion, the state contends that the affidavit of probable cause is quote unquote irrelevant at this stage. State's motion at 4. The state cites no authority for this claim. Mr. Kohberger has the ability to challenge the probable cause affidavits in this matter that were used to procure warrants. And then it's referring to a case, and that case had the finding of informers' reliability a relevant issue as it related to probable cause for a wiretap. And then it refers to another case, and that significance was that the finding was the informer's reliability a relevant issue as it related to probable cause for a search. And then the last case that they mentioned had the finding of field performance of drug dog properly discoverable as relevant to probable cause inquiry, which tells me these were all referenced in the state's motion. The finding of an indictment does not preclude a defendant from seeking to gain through discovery information relevant to the probable cause provided to the court. So that was filed on May 10th. And I guess it would have been nice to see the state's motion to limit testimony.
I mean, I can pull that up, and I think that's so interesting, though, the case that they're citing for their precedents, like the informant's reliability for wiretaps.
Well, and because I'm thinking that the state's document must have referenced that.
And then the second case, they did also informant's reliability, and then dogs and their use in a probable cause affidavit. So, what was interesting is I was listening to an attorney earlier, and he was saying, could they be referencing something that's in the grand jury? I don't know, but do you want me to bring up the next document, or do you want me to go back?
Yeah, we can that's fine. What is it?
I have the motion to temporary seal exhibits. Is that what you have next?
Okay. Well, no, I just pulled all 4 up, so
okay.
I was just going to go in whatever order. Okay, so this one, if you pull that up, I'll verify.
Got it.
Yes. So the motion to temporarily seal exhibits 1 of state's second supplemental response to defendant's 4th motion to compel discovery, and state's supplemental response to defendant's 5th motion to compel discovery pending a hearing. All right. Come now, the state of Idaho by and through the Latah County prosecuting attorney, and hereby moves the court pursuant to Idaho Court Administrative Rule, blah, 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 and Idaho Court this for a temporary order sealing exhibits 1 of, quote, state's second supplemental response to defendant's 4th motion to compel discovery and state's supplemental response to defendant's 5th motion to compel discovery herein because release or disclosure would 1. Interfere with enforcement proceedings. 2. Deprive a person of a right to a fair trial or an impartial adjudication. I think this is supposed to be 3. Constitute an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. 4. Disclose the identity of a confidential source, and or 5. Disclose investigative techniques and procedures. The undersigned seek this protection pending a hearing on the matter. Wherefore, the state respectfully prays that the court seal from public disclosure exhibits 1 for the supplemental response to defendant's 4th and 5th motion to compel discovery, herein under the provisions of Idaho Court Rule, So,
All right, and let me get the motion to temporary seal supplemental. Hold on, let me pull that up, get the right one pulled up here. You know what? I have a little little background music on, but I have
no, it's not exciting.
something a little more chill. We have so many comments to read too. It's just I can't do two things.
I can't either. I can't while I'm reading.
We'll be pulling up all your comments soon and getting response. So,
right.
Is it the supplemental one?
I have it. Yeah.
Which one is it that I'm pulling up?
It's the motion to temporarily seal supplemental response to defendant's 4th and response to 5th motions to compel and motion to limit scope of testimony. You got it. Okay. Come now, the state of Idaho, by and through the Latah County prosecuting attorney, and hereby moves the court pursuant to Idaho Court Administrative Rule this for a temporary order sealing supplemental response to defendant's 4th and response to 5th motions to compel and a motion to limit scope of testimony herein because release or disclosure would 1. Interfere with enforcement proceedings. I think this is going to say the same thing as the other one.
Except
2. Deprive a person of a right to a fair trial or impartial adjudication. Yeah, again, they copied and pasted it, right? Because they have the typo. It's a typo. And if I was the other side, I would have it thrown out for that typo, and you can.
It matters.
It would just stall things, but I mean, it's a strategy. Okay, disclose the identity of a confidential source. I don't think I read this. Constitute an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. Disclose investigative techniques and procedures. The undersigned seek this protection pending a hearing on the matter. I keep thinking that's my child.
That was mine.
Oh, okay. Wherefore, the state respectfully prays that the court seal from public disclosure the supplemental response to defendant's 4th and response to 5th motions to compel and motion to limit scope of testimony herein under the provisions of the Okay.
And I think what's interesting, the one we have coming up is our biggest document of the night because it really says what we have coming up and what we can expect, how we concluded. So I think
right. And I'm kind of reading through these one right after the other, and then we'll break it down and talk about it because I might need to leave early. So we just wanted to get all of this information out here for you guys. So if you pull that up, I'll read that. That's the last one.
the problem is I just X'd out of the state of Idaho judicial system. Hold on a second.
You want me to present it?
Oh, do you have it right there? Yeah, I'll put it through if you present
I
it.
think
Hold on, give me 2 seconds to get this thing pulled up.
yeah, you can just do it.
Ooh, if I could spell correctly, it would. Judicial system. I don't know why it's not coming up. This is so weird. Give me 1 sec here. All right, Robert, can you give us some thoughts while I'm pulling this up?
Yeah. From what I heard, the hearings for yesterday and tomorrow was supposed to be about the change of venue. Why all of a sudden is it about the motion, the 4th and 5th motion to compel? And why did they vacate those specific court dates and move them to the end of the month? I know one of them is an open hearing on the 30th of this month, but it also states that the court has a right to cut the feed to the live stream if either the prosecution or the defense wants to go to a closed door session.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. All of a sudden, we start hearing all these things about these cases that require precedence, and they mention things about an informant and a wiretap, and dogs and stuff. Just things that we haven't heard that were actually on the weren't actually in the PCA. So it's just so interesting what was in that grand jury hearing. And I've got it, you guys. I'm pulling it up right now. Sorry, this took me a minute. Share screen. Okay, here's that order to vacate right here. And then we're going to get to your comments and start reading what you guys have to say.
All right, ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Order vacating and rescheduling hearing dates and opening some hearings to the public. Okay, so sounds like hearings that were previously sealed. The court orders the following. So this is interesting because this is the order from the court. 1, based on the agreement of the parties, the hearing scheduled for May 14th, which was yesterday, 2024 at 1:30 p.m. for defendants' 4th and 5th motions to compel is vacated. This will allow both parties in the court additional time to review the information that was submitted by the parties between May 7th and May 10th. Defendants' 4th and 5th motions to compel, this is number 2, will be heard on May 30th at 10 a.m. After reviewing the submissions of the parties filed on May 7th and May 10th, the court has determined that the hearing will be open to the public. Great. Thus, the court's May 2nd order granting state's motion to close the May 14th hearing is withdrawn. If during the hearing issues arrive that must be addressed in a sealed proceeding, the court will clear the courtroom and discontinue the live stream of the proceedings on the court's YouTube channel. 3. On May 23rd at 2:30 p.m., the defense will call a witness to testify. The testimony will relate to defendants' 4th and 5th motions to compel. Because the witness is unavailable to testify on May 30th, the witness testimony will take place on May 23rd. The hearing will be open to the public. However, if during the hearing issues arise that must be addressed in a sealed proceeding, again, the court will clear the courtroom and, discontinue the live stream. 4. Based on the agreement of the parties, the hearing scheduled for May 16th at 3 p.m. for the IGG portion of defendant's 5th motion to compel is vacated and reset for May 30th at 1:30 p.m. This portion of the hearing will include arguments on the defendant's motion to allow defense investigators to review IGG materials and defendant's motion to unseal parts of IGG materials. At this juncture, the hearing will be sealed as stipulated by the parties. In the event that the parties determine that the hearing can be open to the public, the parties must file a stipulation to open the hearing no later than May 24th to provide adequate notice to the victims' families. Number 5, although no hearing is being set for May 31st, the court will reserve space on its calendar beginning at 10 a.m. that morning if additional time is needed to complete the hearing on the defendant's motion to compel, including the portions pertaining to IGG information. Okay.
So I don't know if you guys, so I have an interesting quote. When I was kind of preparing for this, I was listening to a few that, I like to listen to the lawyers and what they have to say. And I have a quote from attorney Scott Reich. I think that's how you say his last name, R-E-I-C-H. And he's from the channel, right? What is it?
I don't know. Right, I would say.
Right? Okay.
But I don't know.
His channel is Crime Talk anyway. And it's a big channel. If you haven't been on that channel before, it's great. He has about 250,000 followers, so please go check him out. But he had a really interesting quote when he was going over these documents, and I was listening earlier, and he said basically how he was putting it into context is he said, look, you can go anywhere in the country to any courtroom, you can walk in and sit down, and you can hear these hearings about evidence and what's going to be admissible and what's not going to be admissible. So the quote that I wrote down from him was, to think that this case is somehow so special that routine procedure need not be followed makes no sense to me whatsoever. And I just thought that was an interesting blurb he gave when he was reviewing these documents today. So, your reaction to that, Gia?
I mean, I would just agree with him in the sense of, everything that I've seen, and it's not been a million criminal cases. I'm more involved on the other family side of law, but this is unusual, and it seems like they've been getting a lot. And it could be the judge, right, that is using his discretion to take this the way he is, because I've never seen so many sealed, and usually there isn't this much there aren't these many documents in a case, for one, and it doesn't drag on this long. And I'm going to say drag on, but they're certainly going back and forth with there's a lot of paperwork in this case, little motions, seal this, unseal this. I think it's unusual.
It's just like that family statement that the Gonzalez family put out. Do they really need a hearing for every motion? Do they really need, like Steve G said in that letter, do they really need to kick the alibi like a can down the road?
They don't need to, Robert. But the thing is, they have the ability to, and they have the right to.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times these motions being filed and all of that is just kind of a delay tactic and a strategy. And you can always, if you ask for a hearing, the court has to give you a hearing, unless you're doing motion for summary judgment or something like that. But if you do a motion to the court, and I do this in family law too. If you do a motion to the court and you don't want them just to decide because you want a chance to be able to speak and explain yourself, right? Because to me, it's kind of like texting with someone and you're not getting what I'm saying. You're not getting, no, I need to speak to you in person, right? So that's why I would ask for a hearing. But it does delay it because then it has to get set for the docket. But they have a right to have a hearing on every issue that they put before the court. Just the way it is.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Gia. I'm just trying to get in the mindset of why the Gonzalez family put out that family statement right after that one court hearing. Are they getting frustrated with the slow walk of the case, or?
Well, I kind of felt like there was some sort of PR, something going on at that moment when I was observing it, because it felt like at that, if you remember, if I'm not mistaken, at that exact same time is when they also were coming out with the alibi, and there was some really bad press going to the prosecution, and it seemed like there was some sort of PR, not to make light, but it did seem like I know a couple of my mods got documents sent to them directly from the Gonzalez family at that exact same time, referencing the radio.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know what was going on there, but since you guys were talking about it and I saw this comment from Wanda Woman, why would they want to say it's irrelevant now? We didn't go over that document, so I want to pull it up. This was actually on the 9th. I think this was, let's see, let me pull it up. This is called I don't think we read this one. This is, you tell me if I missed it. Defendant's response to the state's motion to limit testimony. Are you familiar with this, Gia?
No, I'm just looking. I'm gonna pull it up.
Okay, if you pull it up, and you want to read it, because this is what Wanda is talking about, and it's
what's the date?
It's the 9th, I think. Let me go back up.
See, this is what I'm saying. It takes you like 5 minutes to scroll through his case documents. It's such a long list.
I think it's the 9th, and it says defendant's response, because I just, of course, etched out of the judicial system again.
Defendant's response to state's motion to limit testimony.
Yes. Do you see it?
Yeah, I have it. I thought we did read that. We did read that. I read that one.
Okay, so let's go back up to this first paragraph. There was something I wanted to reference. Okay, here it is. The state's motion. The state contends that the affidavit of probable cause is irrelevant at this stage. And then that's when they bring up these different cases, the informant and the wiretap and the dogs. And so that's where I guess they're saying that what they have to hold Brian is which is more reliable, is what is in that grand jury testimony. Am I hearing that right, Gia?
I don't know, I'm looking at what they responded to.
Okay, I'm going to show some more comments. Oh, Rock is here.
Who?
Thanks for showing up, Rock. We appreciate you giving it a chance. Okay, and one went probably because Ann Taylor is putting the prosecutors up against the wall.
I can't see where the limit testimony is. I see the response to it, but not the motion to limit it.
I'm going to read the whole paragraph. Come now, Brian C. Koberger, by and through his attorneys of record, and hereby submits the following response to the state's motion to limit testimony filed on May 10th, 2024. In the state's motion, the state contends that the affidavit of probable cause is irrelevant at this stage, and that's it. Like,
no, it's not on the list. There's 3 documents on the 10th. The response to the limit testimony, the motion to seal the exhibits. And another motion to seal supplemental response. They didn't. It's not on the website. It's not on the court site with all the.
No, I got this from. Let me tell. I'm gonna go back to this site, and I'm gonna tell.
No, I see. I have the defendant's response to state's motion to limit testimony.
Okay.
What I don't have is the state's motion to limit testimony. Where is that? Because it's saying response to the state's motion to limit testimony filed May 10th. When you look at all the documents in the Koberger case, there isn't anything on the 10th that limits.
Wait. You're looking for, tell me the document you're looking for again.
The original, so we have the response to the state's motion to limit testimony. Where is the state's motion to limit testimony that they're responding to? Because it's not on the State of Idaho Judicial Branch cases of interest where
All right. I'm going to go take a look too, you guys. Bear with us. And we're just doing this to make sure we got the right documents. Robert, do you have any insight on that, what we're talking about?
The motion to limit testimony?
Yeah.
I need to know where is that, because I have on the 10th, I have the motion to temporarily seal exhibits, the motion to temporarily seal supplemental response, and then defendant's.
M. Mulligan just said the state's motion to limit was not posted.
It isn't. Yeah, I don't. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not posted. It's not here. So if anyone has it,
and I kind of wonder why it's not posted. Is that something that Bill Thompson's trying to keep keep up his sleeve?
No, because Bill Thompson doesn't run this web. This is all the court, right?
Like the judge and administrative.
The clerk of the court or whatever. These are public records.
Yeah.
So I think it's a clerical. It just didn't didn't make it. Let me do a Google search for it.
Oh, thank you. I'm limited. I only have this one website where the cases of interest that the judicial.
I have that too, but it's.
I know there's like some government website that you can. I can't remember what it's called, but when I was studying Ashley Gilliard's case, somebody showed me the way you can keep track of these cases. Okay, so Jay Embry did a great live in discussing those 3 cases and how they are directly related to. So Jay Embry actually went to those cases and pulled them up. That's an interesting angle. I'd love to actually maybe see what they're trying to say is relevant to this case. And then Wanda Woman had another comment. I believe Ann Taylor is calling out them because what the grand jury indictment says is completely contradictory to what's in the PCA. That's a good, thank you for sharing your.
Yeah.
All right.
Something tells me that some of this evidence is not going to make it to trial. Ann Taylor is going to start using suppression motions when it gets closer to trial. The stuff that the prosecutors not want to turn over, she's going to start filing suppression motions.
Well, if they don't turn it over, they can't present it in court as evidence anyway. So that kind of moot, right? Like, if it's not turned over, you can't present it as evidence. It's not TV where you go, ta-da! I have this,
Yeah,
And the
He
other
can't
side,
Bill Thompson can't pull a rabbit out of his hat at the last minute.
no, you can't have surprise witnesses. You can't have surprise evidence. You can't have, you know, you can have evidence in response to something that the defense presents as a rebuttal, and that's not considered. But you can't, when presenting your case, you can't present something that you haven't shared with the other side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I also think this, to Wanda's comment, I believe Ann Taylor is calling them out because the grand jury indictment says it's completely contradictory to what's in the PCA. Well, how would we know? Because the grand jury indictment and everything in it and all the testimony is sealed. So we don't know, but Ann Taylor knows, right? So then it's kind of hard when you're sealed and unsealed. And that's why I think part of these motions to unseal certain things are for that transparency. And so that when they're making their motions, it makes more sense.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, Gia, on a lot of your points. I totally agree with you. Do you believe? Do you? In my opinion, I believe that possibly Ann Taylor has Bill Thompson up against the ropes, maybe, or his back against the wall, because I mean, she actually did file 14 motion of discoveries, and I think it's a little careless on his part not to answer the first one. It had to take her 14 times just to get him to do it.
I mean, that's not completely unusual. I hate to say it. Like, you keep, if someone doesn't provide you the discovery you're asking for, you just keep doing it. You compel, right? And then at some point,
Yeah.
you ask for sanctions. But they don't usually give the prosecuting attorney sanctions for that. But they, you know, they're gonna, it's gonna come down to the ropes where they have to ask the judge, and the judge is gonna have to decide. Because typically when you motion to compel, the judge is gonna order you to compel. So then if you don't do it, you're in contempt. And then the court wouldn't have a good time with that. So they wouldn't like it. The court does not like when you don't go by their order, especially if you're a prosecuting attorney. So for some reason, the court's not compelling him, you know, or he has a reason, or he's doing a response to being compelled to do something, to say, hey, look, we also don't have this yet, or we haven't compiled it in such a way that it's able to be shared. So whatever they're doing back and forth, I'm sure there's a lot of everything. I'm sure there's a little bit of strategy going on. I'm sure there are things where they're trying to hold back and wait until the last second before they get in trouble or sanctions before they provide it. But that's just the way cases work. I mean, these are strategies that lawyers have. So there's nothing fishy about it. It's just, it's the way that it works. And until push comes to shove and you ask the court to have the sanctions for the fact that they're not abiding by the court order, nothing's really going to happen.
There's a comment right here by Mr. Sentinel. Why not file a motion to show cause why the prosecution isn't producing evidence and use to seek an arrest order?
So Mr. Sentinel, if you could elaborate on that, only because a motion to show cause is what you do a motion when someone's in contempt. So yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay, that's the second half.
Show cause why the prosecution shouldn't be held in contempt. Because I don't know that the court ordered them to do anything specific that they're not doing. So the court would have to say, you need to provide Ann Taylor with A, B, and C, and he still doesn't do it. And they give him 30 days, they give him a timeline, and he still doesn't do it. Now Ann Taylor has to go back and say, he still hasn't done it, and now I want sanctions for it. She has to ask for that. The court's just not punitive on their own. The court doesn't respond to anything unless it's asked to, and it's only asked to through motions.
But it's possible they could, I guess.
I mean, only if they're, so it would have to be, you can only do a show cause hearing for contempt if they're literally not following a court order. And I, you know, I can speak to because family law, right? So my clients will go for contempt if you get divorced and the husband's supposed to give you half of his retirement account, right? And he doesn't do it because he doesn't want him. So he's just not doing it. He's not doing it. So then you file a motion for contempt because he's literally not following an order of the court, right? And then you get a show cause hearing because then he has to come to court and show cause why he's not following the order. And then the court will say, yeah, that's acceptable or it isn't. Like, is that an excuse? So in this case, it would have to be like, okay, you're compelled. They're doing a motion to compel. What did the court come back with? If the court came back with to say, Bill Thompson, you need to provide her with this specific IgG information, and then he didn't, then there's a contempt. But it can't be vague. Like, I'm just not getting all the discovery I asked for. I'm just not getting everything I asked for.
It's got to be provable what they're saying.
Well, I mean, you may not be, but you have to be specific. What haven't you gotten? Because you've gotten these whatever bytes, right? Trillion whatever bytes of data. Is it his fault you haven't gone through it? I get that it might take time, but he's probably saying, oh no, we did send it. It's in that file. You just haven't gotten it to it yet. It's in there.
51 terabytes of data.
Yeah, he's not mandated to spoon feed Ann Taylor all his information. And this happens all the time where, if you're going to provide discovery to the other side, you do it in an electronic file. Or, if you really want to be a jerk, you do it in paper and you send them reams of paper and they have to go through it all. I mean, and even in an electronic format. Of course, you could do a search and find and all that, which is helpful. But if you don't really know exactly what you're looking for, it's like a needle in a haystack.
And then Wanda Woman, who said, look at the cases she cited. PCA says nothing about drug sniffing dog. Why would she use that? And what I guess it says is that first motion we were saying, they're saying that probable cause affidavit no longer is relevant because we're going by what the grand jury was told. And there's something about these drug sniffing dogs or some in that precedence case, there's something that's relevant to what was said in the grand jury. No,
she's missing the point. Okay. She's saying, look at the cases she cited. The PCA says nothing about a drug sniffing dog. It doesn't have to. She's using that because she's responding to what the state filed, and we can't find that because it was never posted. So in whatever the state's motion to limit whatever one it was responding to, the state's motion that we couldn't see because it's not on there, that they were responding to, on the 10th, right? State's motion to limit testimony. We can't read that. In the state's motion to limit testimony, they would have brought up all these things that you're talking about, the dog, this, that. So this response is like talking about the dog, this. It's responding to the state's motion, not to the PCA. It's just saying in the PCA, this is just one part of it, saying the PCA doesn't agree with the grand jury testimony. That's separate from when they're talking about the dog and this and that.
Right.
TV online.
Oh, sorry. While you were talking, I thought of another thing I wanted to bring up, which I wasn't in these documents, but it's something we read on Monday in one of the recent court documents, which is, or I actually heard it in the proceedings. The judge is now going to set aside 2 dates a month for hearing, even if they're not used, everyone's in agreement, they'll vacate them. But just to make sure he has at least 2 scheduled hearings a month, because he knows there's just going to be so many motions. Why not have them pre-scheduled? So that is also
he's bookmarking spots for him on the docket.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So he's saving space in case.
Now, a couple questions for you, Ely. Is that normal? Is that normal, or is this just because it's a high-profile case?
I didn't hear you.
Is that normal, or is that just because it's a high-profile case?
Mm-hmm.
You can't hear me?
No, what normal? You're just like, is that normal? And I'm like, I lost you.
Is it normal for a judge to set aside 2 hearings a month? Okay.
Yeah. So, like, for instance, if, like, you say, I have a court case coming up, and I think, and they always ask the parties, how long do you think it'll take, right? I think it'll be 3 days. Okay. So then they might set it in for 3 days, but then they might block off a half a day the next day just in case it doesn't finish up. So, like, what he's saying is, we don't want to get to a point where there really needs to be a hearing rather quickly and the docket's so full there's no space to put it in. We don't want to set it out 6 weeks. We want to be able to set it in for hearing rather quickly. So I think what he's doing is he's kind of bookmarking a couple of places on the docket in case something comes up, and then he can just push it in there.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then the other question I wanted to ask you, and when I say normal again, and I know normal is relative to everybody, but have you seen in other cases, I don't know if it applies in family law, but a PCA, the probable cause affidavit, is quote deemed irrelevant because they're going back to the rest. I've never heard, I don't know enough about law to know if a probable cause affidavit is typically deemed irrelevant or grand jury testimony, but just to know if there was some other time you could take.
What they're saying. I know what you're asking. It doesn't apply in family law. There would never be a PCA. Okay, because they wouldn't. But in this case, what the person is saying by irrelevant means the probable cause affidavit was what was used in order to procure the search warrants and the arrest warrants and everything else. And what they're saying is that's all been done now. The arrests have been made. The search warrants have been made. Everything's done. And that was a statement in order to get these things done. So it's done. It accomplished what it set out to. So the PCA was set out to do that, to procure search warrants, to get arrests, to do it's just done. And so I think the person's point, it's not that it's irrelevant overall, but it's kind of irrelevant going forward, right? Because that just accomplished what it needed to. That was a means to an end, and the end has been reached. Now we're going forward. Does it mean that they won't refer back to that if they needed to for officers' testimony or whatever? They might, but it's served its purpose. It's done. And so now they're moving on to other things. So, and I think what they're saying is so the affidavit said this, the grand jury said this, they aren't meshing. That doesn't make the PCA irrelevant. Now they need to find out what's the truth or what really does matter.
Yeah. Why did they say that in that document? That it's irrelevant. I just don't. You know what I'm referencing?
Yes.
But they put this one right here. So it's where it says the state's motion, the state contends the affidavit for probable cause is irrelevant at this stage.
At this stage. It's not saying it was ever irrelevant, but it's like going like this. Okay. Let me give you an analogy, which has nothing to do with crime. Okay. You apply to get into college, right? And I have a son in college, so this is hard work, right? And you work really hard on your application. You're filling everything out, and they want to know this, and they want to know that, and they want to know your grades, and they want to know, okay? And you do all of that, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait, okay? Now you get accepted into college. Your application is now irrelevant. You're already in college.
I see.
So all of that information, while good, and it got you to where you are at, it no longer matters because you're already in. Now what's going to matter is how well are you going to do in school, and how are you going to do in your classes, and what do your grades look like so that you stay in, right? So it's not that obviously your college application is not irrelevant because it's what got you into college, but it's irrelevant going forward because it doesn't matter anymore.
That's a good analogy. No, that does put it in a way I can actually understand.
And so what people are missing is she's not saying it's irrelevant. She's saying it's irrelevant at this stage. It doesn't matter anymore what that says because they've done everything with it that they can. And now what they do is when they go to trial, they may bring that in and contrast and compare it to grand jury and other things, but it doesn't really matter because the searches have already been done, the arrests have already been made. It's not going to ever go back and go, you know what, let's correct. Oh, then we'll pretend we never arrested Brian Koberger.
Now,
yeah, sorry, Robert, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Gia, I do have a question for you. When the judge stated on this last hearing that he's not even sure that this is going to make it to trial, is he in hopes that it does make it to trial, or maybe a plea bargain type scenario?
I didn't see the hearing, but if he said he's not sure it's going to make it to trial, what he's saying is that it's not a guarantee that it's going to go to trial because there's still room for plea bargaining and settlement. That's what he would mean by that, in my opinion.
You don't think it would indicate that there's a reason the case would get thrown out? I'm interpreting it the same way, that it means there could be a plea bargain in the
Just means,
or possible.
Because so many cases settle on the courthouse steps. That's what they say, right? So settle on the courthouse steps. You all the way up to litigation, you can make a deal. And so what he's saying is, I really don't know if you're going to make a deal or not. Brian could plead guilty or no contest, like whatever. He could do something. The judge doesn't know. So it's not set for trial yet because we haven't crossed all of the bridges yet.
And he was just saying hypothetically, wasn't indicating that this is headed down. Okay. That makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And someone's saying he was once again being sarcastic because in this case, well, judges aren't usually tongue in cheek like that, but I know what you're saying is like, but it could never make it to trial. Something could happen that it doesn't make it to trial.
And I don't know, G, if you saw, we've got Kim in the audience.
Yeah, I said hi to Kim.
I understand what you're saying, but there are some documents if the PCA was not supported by facts. And then I'm just going to bring up, well, she said that, and I'll add to it one more. Or was it? Well, anyway, why don't you have a comment? What are your thoughts with Kim's comment right there?
I don't really know what she means. I understand what you're saying, but an arrest, I wasn't talking about the arrest at all. But in an arrest, shouldn't the conviction support the arresting document? It did. They had enough. If they hadn't had enough to arrest him, they wouldn't have arrested him. They had enough to arrest him. Do they have enough to convict him? Not what was in that document. It's not going to convict him. But all it was you just needed a probable cause, and they had enough of a cause to arrest him, and they did. So, and I say the PCA is not supported by facts. It is, because that was testimony from officers on the scene. So it's their factual testimony. And that's what you need. Like, that's the way the law works, is like if the law enforcement are the ones who are going to say, hey, we think we have enough reason. Then they go with the probable cause affidavit to a judge or whoever, and they say, do you think this is enough? And if they do, then they get the arrest warrant, and they did. And I don't think it was just what was in the PCA. There was other stuff too, like the IGG evidence.
No, I think that, and also I think that it's that breakdown that I didn't understand for a second too, Kim, that I'm going to try and explain that Gia just drove home to me, which was when I'm reading that line, and I'll pull it back up so that I can walk you through my thought process. That's what I'm trying to say. So in this sentence, again, I'm just going to read it. The state's motion, the state contends that the affidavit of probable cause, and then in quotations it says irrelevant at this stage. So somebody made that quote, and I'm assuming it was Bill Thompson or the state. But what Gia is saying is it's not saying it's irrelevant, but it's saying it's not relevant to the stage. It's not saying they're throwing it out, which when I heard about that quote, I thought they were saying they threw it out. But I'm not sure. And then Kim, you had another one right after that said, so they don't have to turn over the evidence to defense. And it was when I was listening to that attorney earlier, Attorney Scott Reisch, REIC from Crime Talk. This quote was regarding the evidence that hadn't been turned over yet. And I'm going to read it again. To think that this case is somehow so special that routine procedure need not be followed makes no sense to me whatsoever. So I don't know. And then there's the other issue, which is they're talking about evidence that the FBI hasn't handed over to them. And I don't know where that stands.
Well, that's the prosecution's defense for not doing what they need to do, right? So that would be a thing. I want to talk to this. Keep that up. Keep that quote up. Okay. But
this one?
No. What you just had.
Okay, sorry.
Yes. Okay, but what did you just say right before that? I just didn't want that to disappear.
I was just saying that the Andrew Myers quote thinks that special routine. Oh, FBI. I was talking about.
So that's a reason why, so if you look at the responses to compel, and I haven't seen them, right? But if she's compelling for discovery, and then that could be the prosecution saying, hey, we don't even have it yet. The FBI hasn't given it to us yet. Like when I said, oh, it hasn't been compiled in the right way yet. Or there could be so many reasons why they haven't turned it over. So if they have reasons that sound legit or are legit, right? The judge isn't going to compel them to do it. So I haven't seen any orders compelling for anything specific, because if there were, then he would be in contempt of not providing it. And she hasn't done any contempt.
Yeah, that's right back to that conversation we were having at the beginning. Why, they could make a motion, but it can't be fake. What were you saying, Robert? I'm sorry.
My StreamYard's messing up. So if you see me backstage, that's because my StreamYard's messing up, and I'm trying to get back into my StreamYard.
I'm glad you're telling me, because I thought it was a fake Robert account, and I didn't want anyone to do anything nefarious to my stream. I was going to put a screen up and then check you out, but good to know. Okay, I saw you popping up in the background.
You're straight now.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my StreamYard fixed.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going in order. I don't know if you did what, Gia?
The one that was just up there.
Got it.
Nope.
Oh, hold on. It's right here. No, that's not it. Here it goes. Here it is. But Anne disapproves.
Okay. Disproves what? Okay. So the PCA is for testimony of an officer, right? So it's that's his perspective. Maybe if he said something and then later you could prove that it wasn't correct, or there's other evidence to show that, geez, he must not have been seen. That comes up in trial. That would come up in the trial where you would say, maybe you bring the officer, Brent Payne, I think his name is, right? Bring him up on the stand. And you go over the PCA and you ask him questions about it, right? So, and then that would be the opportunity for Ann Taylor to say, hey, look, in the PCA, it says this. However, your testimony right now just said this. That's contradictory. Or now I could bring in the grand jury, and they said this. These things are contradictory. And this is going to be something to the jury to show reasonable doubt, right? How come these things are contradictory? That could be what she would do. So there's nothing that, if she disproves and said, he said the knife was under her thigh, but it was under her calf. So, I mean, what are they going to do about it? Nothing. It's at that point, it's up for the jury to hear everything, process, and come back with the verdict whenever they do. But that happens all the time, right?
There was a question on my side from one of my subs. The DoorDash driver, is he going to put him at the scene?
That's a good question. I've always thought when it comes to the DoorDash, how interesting it is that they're subpoenaed all of the DoorDash records for 3 months back. I always thought that was interesting. And what else I think is interesting is that they talked to the DoorDash driver. and then we never heard any more in the PCA about it. But yeah, so I do think the DoorDash driver is some sort of witness, just gut instinct, basing that on nothing, but because of those reasons. What do you think, Gia? What do you think, Robert?
I don't know. I was in the middle of another sentence, so
I'm sorry, Pia.
lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry, Gia.
That's all right. You must not have heard me talking. I guess. That's all right. I didn't get that because I need to run because I need to get my son to bed.
Well, the one thing I want to say is that I missed you. I missed streaming with you, Gia. I'm so glad you came up tonight, and I hope
I missed it too, and I missed your channel. I missed the time you were away, and I didn't miss you because of course I'd have to use it. But I love this, and I wish I could stay longer. But,
yeah, and they have to understand. Poor Gia. Normally we see each other on the street. Because I didn't have YouTube, she was getting me 10 times a day. So poor Gia has been investing a lot of time in the background.
You could call me 100 times a day.
Well, I appreciate everything, and I appreciate everything you did for this channel. I just want to remind everyone out there that there's a free way you can support this channel, and that's following the description to Gia's channel and subscribing to her. And same thing with Robert. But Gia, I'm trying to get her so we can start. We really are trying to grow Gia's channel. She's been a big part of this podcast, and if you could just go subscribe to her, I'd greatly appreciate it. Please.
Thanks.
Anyway, I love
and
you.
Also, it would have been nice. We could have used that when you were suspended. Then we could have had everybody on my channel too, and streamed from there. But
absolutely, it's a way to protect the content if we ever run into another issue. So great channel. Please check out Gia's channel.
Yes, and I
missed you too, Gia.
Thank you. I missed everybody. It was like having withdrawals, but hey, and I hope that AR joins you guys. And I'm sorry to miss him. Don't let him know. And hopefully we'll get to do another thing with him one day.
Well, I'd like to have you back tomorrow. Well, I'll talk to you anyway. Hopefully tomorrow 8 you'd show up, but I'll talk to you tomorrow. I know
talk offline because I leave tomorrow, Friday morning.
Yeah, I know you leave Friday morning. I scheduled it kind of late, but anyway, we'll talk tomorrow and tell Nico I said I love him.
Bye. All.
It's me and you again, Robert. So we had a question down here from Wanda. She's like, where's AR? He can straighten this out, LOL. AR, well, I don't know. If he doesn't make it, I know IR will make it up to us and show up another night. But he was...
I just texted him, brother, are you coming?
Well, what's interesting is AR was the one... He immediately had some thoughts on this document dump the other day when we were live. And I was curious to know what his thoughts were. Have you talked to him about any of these things?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just texted him, brother, are you coming? Because I noticed while we were on the live, he dropped 2 videos.
He did?
Yeah.
I'm not going to play them because but I'm curious to know what AR dropped. And you dropped one last night, right, Robert?
I dropped 2 last night.
Why don't you tell actually, let's show the folks what your videos are. I'm going to bring up Robert's channel. Hold on. I was watching this video by Harsh Reality earlier. I didn't get very far, obviously. So I'm going to go to True Crime Cult. And Robert's got 2 videos he dropped last night. We got The Real Reason Ashlyn Couch Spoke Up. Oh my gosh. Should we, Robert, do you want me to air some of these? I kind of want to watch this one.
Yeah, you can air that one. She actually went on Good Morning America.
Oh, do you have the Good Morning America clip on there?
Yes.
I don't know if I want to play it. I've been trying to avoid ABC.
It's a 2-minute video. Yeah, it's a 2-minute clip.
I'd like to hear your take on it. I'm going to play it, but I'm going to skip over the Good Morning America part, okay? I think we've all seen it.
If a man wears this, he's definitely getting lucky tonight.
Most jeans are either super baggy.
Is that a real thing? Rob,
Hey guys, I would like to know, after all this time, almost 17 months, why is Ashlyn Couch speaking out now? Why is she breaking her silence now? Why didn't she do it around the time of the unalivings? Why all of a sudden has she now come forward and is breaking her silence and going on a media press run?
We have the Idaho Colorado.
Forward now. So why come forward now? Why come forward 17 months after the crime? Is she trying to get her 5 minutes of fame? Possibility. And did you see how nice her house looked inside? She has money. She's not poor. You could tell by the way her house was decorated. They're just really coming out of the woodwork there in Idaho. First, Emma Bailey. Then Demetrius. Now, Ashlyn Couch. What's her motive? Why is she coming forward now? Like always, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Hit that bell notification for any new uploads. And
so, are we seeing a pattern here? Are we seeing people who understand now that when one part of social media on one side starts talking about something, they can release a little red meat on the other side and get people to, I mean, it's kind of like, I don't want to get political, but you can see it in every single political sphere. When a politician or the president does something wrong, all of a sudden they've got this something in their back pocket that's totally outrageous. And you think it's like the worst thing, but it's actually meant to be a distraction from a real crime or something that really matters going on. So I don't know. I get it, Robert. I see what you're saying. I agree.
yeah, because it just don't make no sense. 17 months has gone by. Where was she, coming out with the rest, like Kaylee's cousin who was on 2020? Why wait 17 months to break your silence? there's got to be, like, maybe Thompson got a hold of her with, hey, we need your help putting this guy away, because it stated in that interview she moved out of the house in May of 2022, and she was friends with all the girls there, but she specifically mentioned Maddie, that Maddie was the only one that she reached out to the morning of the unalivings. She texted Maddie, "Are you okay?" She didn't text Kaylee. She didn't text Xana. She texted Maddie and Maddie only.
Yeah, I remember hearing that. And I mean, all I can think is she was closer to, I'm losing track of the comments. She's closer to Maddie than the others. It is odd though. I saw a lot of pictures of her and Maddie, but I also saw pictures of her and the other girls in the same pictures. But I did see more pictures of her than Maddie. The one thing that always resonated with me, and the one thing that I think a lot of people I trust picked up on as well, and you picked up on too, I think you've said it too, Robert, is that she brings up internet safety. And
Yeah.
she said it makes it appear that that's the narrative that the students on U of I are going with, that there's an internet safety issue. Now, we heard recently in the last 30 days how there was no stalking or no following of the students that met that legal definition of stalking. So Ashlyn, in talking about this crime in the very brief, small, few amount of words she said, she did bring up, this is my chance to shed light on internet safety. What is she referencing? I mean, how is that related to the Idaho 4 case? So I don't know. For me, I always go to the same place, Papa Rogers, but where's your mind go when you hear that internet safety quote?
Papa Rogers, Inside Looking.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, it just depends on what they mean by internet safety. Could it mean putting up a password protected, like, say, Wi-Fi box? Because we've heard that the person that did it accessed the Wi-Fi router. As well as they connected to the Bluetooth speaker in the house.
That's a really, really good spot. They did take the hard drive with them when they left, Kaylee's hard drive, because we all saw the monitor that said no signal. And then the other thing is, remember the LinkedIn that went live 12 hours after the all 4 students were discovered and 911 was called. Kaylee's sister gets an alert that Olivia got an alert. Kaylee's LinkedIn went live, and then it went live long enough to delete itself. How would somebody have that password? So internet safety, that's what another thing that kind of pops into my head when I think on Ashlyn. Was Ashlyn the 3 a.m. 911 call? I saw somebody put that chain of events. Do you know what the 3 a.m. phone call was, Robert?
Supposedly, I heard that Kaylee dialed 911 at 3 a.m. Because she thought she saw someone in the trees.
Okay, so let's show the letter. We got this right here. So that must have been a direct question from Attorney Myers, because we don't know what Attorney Myers actually asked Steve G, but this is the letter he wrote back. And the first line, we are aware that neither Kaylee nor Maddie made a call to 911. I need to double check with the girls, as they were the ones who accessed their accounts. But according to my recollections, Kaylee's last call was to Jack at 2:56, after which her phone appeared to go offline. And Google's definition of offline means one thing, which means no connection, or it could be just a Kim Catch. He might not have meant it literally. Maybe he means the phone got turned off. I don't know.
Maybe the phone went dead.
Maybe the phone went dead.
And why is Kaylee's phone the only phone that the MPD is holding on to? Ethan's parents got his phone back. Xana's parents got her phone back. Maddie's father got her phone back. But Kaylee's parents has yet to receive her phone back.
Well, back to the internet crimes. What are you talking about, Ashlyn? Oof, I'd love to know. I always wonder, like, did the mainstream media, do they actually ask follow-up questions and just edit them out when they think they're gonna, why don't these questions occur to some of the people giving their interview? That could have been part of a bigger interview too. We might see more of it. Wow, Robert, can you believe we've already been on here an hour and a half for those 5 little documents? It's because everybody's so interested.
Yeah, an hour and 9 minutes.
That is good. I'm just trying to get through these comments, seeing if there's any more questions. Okay, so WSU Mom Kim says Kaylee's phone, allegedly the battery died. So again, you know, Steve just said offline, it doesn't mean that's the technical term, which means that it wasn't receiving any signal to the towers. Kim is hurt, and Kim is kind of closer to the word on the street. Kim, if you remember, if that was like a news report or local news report or something, or if that was like just a word on the street. It's interesting. But
Yeah.
he said he got her phone back recently. We'll have to look into that, Wayne.
Yeah.
Hold on. I think only pain in the ass moms are the only ones asking. Like you're good moms, you know. We get it. You can't remember what else. Well, thank you, Kim. That's really interesting, and it gives me so much information to think of. Robert, I pulled up your other video. Do you want me to play it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me present this, you guys, and then we'll, you know, I don't want to keep Robert forever. He was generous enough to come in with time, and we wanted to kind of kill some time in case AR showed up because, well, we like listening to AR. Okay, here we go.
Hey, what's up, guys? I was looking at the Idaho court website today, and they released a new document. This is truly very interesting document that they released. Basically, they want to have the defendants' fourth and fifth motions to compel vacated. The court orders the following: based on the agreement of the parties, the hearing scheduled for May 14th, 2024 at 1:30 for defendants' fourth and fifth motions to compel is vacated. This will allow both parties and the court additional time to review the information that was submitted by the parties between May 7th and May 10th. The defendant's fourth and fifth motion to compel will be heard on May 30th at 10 a.m. After reviewing the submissions the parties filed on May 7th and May 10th, the court has determined that the hearing will be open to the public. Thus, the courts May 2nd, 2024 order granting state's motion to close May 14th hearing is withdrawn. If during the hearing issues arise that must be addressed in a sealed proceeding, the court will clear the courtroom and discontinue the live stream of the proceedings on the court's YouTube channel. On May 23rd, 2024 at 2:30 p.m., the defense will call a witness to testify. The testimony will relate to defendant's fourth and fifth motions to compel. Because the witness is unavailable to testify on May 30th, the witness testimony will take place on May 23rd. The hearing will be open to the public. However, if during the hearing issues arise that must be addressed in a sealed proceeding, the court will clear the courtroom and discontinue the live stream of the proceedings on the court's YouTube channel. So what do you think guys think is going on, and why are they vacating the hearing set for May 14th? Based on the agreement of the parties, the hearing scheduled for May 16th at 3 p.m. for the IGG portion of the defendant's fifth motion to compel is vacated and reset for May 30th, 2024 at 1:30. This portion of the hearing will include arguments on defendant's motion to allow defense investigators to review IGG materials and defendant's motion to unseal parts of IGG materials. At this juncture, the hearing will be sealed as stipulated by the parties. In the event that the parties determine that the hearing can be open to the public, the parties must file a stipulation to open the hearing no later than May 24th to proceed to provide adequate notice to the victims' families. Although no hearing is being set for May 31st, the court will reserve space on its calendar beginning at 10 a.m. that morning if additional time is needed to complete the hearing on defendant's motions to compel, including the portions pertaining to IGG information. This case gets stranger and stranger, guys. Now they're vacating the hearing for May 14th and May 16th and rescheduling them for the end of the month. That's just very, very odd in my book. You've already had the hearing set up, and now you're vacating them, both hearings, May 14th and May 16th. And on May 24th, you're having a defense witness testify. I'm sorry, guys. This case is getting weirder and stranger day by day. Like, no joke, day by day, this case is getting weirder and stranger. But, you know, what's next in this case? You see, I thought the hearings coming up on May 14th and May 16th was for the change of venue.
Yeah,
That's what I thought. It was for the change of venue. But now, according to them, it was for defendant's fourth and fifth motions to compel. So which one is it? Is it the motions to compel Or is it to change the venue? I don't know what to think anymore, guys. I really don't. I'm a little twisted world of Idaho, where nothing makes sense anymore. But like always, like, subscribe, and comment to my channel. Hit that bell notification for any new uploads.
Pause that.
And
Robert, you said the $1 million statement this week, which is this case keeps getting weirder and weirder. And I saw an interesting comment in here I wanted to share with the live stream. And it was from Wayne B. He says, I heard the DoorDash. Well, by the way, there's so many interesting comments in here. I just got this in a chain, so I starred all of them. So this one's showing up. I heard that the DoorDash driver was purchased from a $50 gift card purchased in Pullman. And then Esther wrote, Wayne B., I heard the same thing, gift card. And then a few people were like, I never heard that. Then I wrote, Wayne, do you remember where you heard that? And Esther wrote way back in the Idaho chat. And then down here, I got an answer. Here it is. In Idaho 4chan Facebook group.
Idaho 4chat Facebook group.
Yeah, I was going to say a 4chan Facebook, 4chat Facebook group. So that's interesting. I'd love to dive a little deeper, but you actually gave me enough that I can dig a little bit deeper with that. Thank you. And then regardless, I mean, how it was paid for, however it was ordered, there'd still be, if it's DoorDash, there's going to be some sort of record of it if it's DoorDash, because DoorDash has to take some accountability for the food. So if it takes too long to get there, or there's too much time in between stops, like it could be a problem. So DoorDash at least should have some record, but I don't know. I'm just assuming if it's.
Now, see, I've heard this from day one. Before everything about got scrubbed about this case from online. The FBI actually went and talked to the Jack in the Box there in Pullman, and a couple of the crew members gave the description to the FBI, an FBI agent, that the person who picked up the DoorDash that night was Emma Bailey. And because the crew member told the FBI agent that she had came through the drive-thru, purchased the food from the Jack in the Box, and then took the food and delivered it to the house.
Yeah, Kim was saying the same thing, EB, earlier, or similar to it. I think it's key. And I think there's a reason we haven't heard anything, because right off the bat we knew about the DoorDash, but we heard no elaboration. And so I think two things. I also, in that letter that Steve G, I'll just put it up again while I'm talking, just so everyone knows what I'm referencing. But in this letter from Steve G, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. Hold on. Unusual activity we haven't found. Oh shoot! I totally lost what my point was. Hold on, Robert, say something while I get my train of thought back.
So yeah, somehow, some way, there is a connection. Like Wayne B said, how did the DoorDash car not leak by now?
Yeah, I got it now.
That's a very good question, Wayne. My response is, why is the FBI agent refusing to turn over the CAS report to the state? Could we eventually, not right now, maybe like closer to trial, could we see possibly the FBI pick the case up, or the federal court system pick the case up? Yeah, because if an FBI agent's talking to Jack in the Box, and the Jack in the Box crew members gave them a description of Emma picking up the DoorDash the night of the unalivings, what is the FBI not telling the state of Idaho? And why did Demetrius and Emma, who were arrested and booked on murder charges, why was their cases just mysteriously dropped and they were let go?
I wonder, when I hear all of this stuff about why haven't we heard anything about the DoorDash driver, I wonder, when I look at this letter right here, one of the things that, oh wait, hold on. Let me take this comment down. One of the things that says at the bottom is, while there have been rumors of unusual events that night, we haven't found any corroborating we haven't found any corroborating reports, so we haven't officially published what we heard within the first 24 hours. My thought, and I just basing this off nothing, just a thought, a possibility could be, we always hear in like crimes where police hold back that one detail, so that if somebody comes forward and talks or says something about it, they know they actually have inside knowledge and they're not just a troll or someone, a poser. I wonder if it's one of those details, like Steve was saying, because they have to know something about the DoorDash driver. They knew that before they even knew about BK. So is this one of the cards that the Gonzalez family is holding close to their chest? I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, see, just like in this interview that Steve did with Ashley Banfield, towards the end of the interview, Steve Gonzalez made the comment that if people knew what he was told, there are investigations going on a whole other level, and that's going to open up new investigators, and everything should be revealed by the time this case goes to trial.
Yeah.
So what does Steve G know that we don't know? Because we know that he's hired private investigators.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because
I don't know if he means it's something from his private investigator or people he heard. How did he say it again? Let me bring it up. It says, while there have been rumors of unusual events that night, we haven't found any corroborating reports. So we haven't officially published what we heard in the first 24 hours. I don't know what they would have heard in the first 24 hours. It wouldn't have been from their private investigator. Could it have been from the kids at the scene? Could have been from the alleged 20 children that were there before 911 arrived.
yeah, and that's what kind of irks me and makes me wonder sometimes. Why did the entire town know about the murders well before 911 was called? Because like the guy Dave, who Lana from Truth and Transparency had interviewed, he had made the statement that when he woke up at 10 o'clock that morning, his Snapchat threads were going haywire with everything going on about the murders. People knew in town at 8:30 in the morning. So why was there that 8-hour delay calling 911 when everybody knew well before the cops were even called?
I can't explain it. And then the only little bit of wiggle room in that, and this still doesn't explain the accounts that I believe from WSU Mom Kim, and I don't know Dave from anyone, but we have to assume Lana from Truth Transparency has done vetting before Dave came on. But I mean, like, I don't know. I can't see how. One thing I want to bring up is we've heard rumors that campus police were there before the cops got there. So if campus police were seen going over there, I mean, obviously nobody thinks it's an unaliving. If you saw campus police showing up at a house, you might, out of concern, a friend or a neighbor show up. I mean, could that have been part of why there were so many people there, aside from the initial person they called for support? I don't know. I'm not saying I'm just throwing out theories, just speculating.
Yeah, I know.
And the reason
Yeah,
why
just like
women, just so you guys know, the reason why there's certain people who you can't see in chat is because certain people are in chat on Robert's page, certain people are in chat on my page, and certain people are in chat on Gia's page, and then I have people on chat on X. So there's actually 4 live streams going on right now. So that's why you can't find Kim. I think she was in Gia's maybe, but I don't know.
Wayne B said, he also said, Perp said, I'm here to help you, then attacked. What kind of unaliver, serial killer, quadruple murder would say, it's okay, I'm here to help you?
One who, well, okay, Robert, I'm not trying to be a guilt or please don't, but when I hear that line, the first thing I think is that survey. You know, if BK is the one, he did that survey about which has not been fully proven to be him, I will say, but there was that survey saying that he was asking criminals, how do you approach your victim? What do you say to your victim? What are you feeling? What are their responses? Is that a line that you could have learned from interviewing people who do break and entering? I don't know. I'm here to help you. That's something you say to a victim to keep them off guard. I'm here to help you. When you see them in your hallway of your house, I mean, that might throw me off. Be like, oh God, what is there a fire? Like, what? I don't know. I might be stunned. I don't know. I don't know. I'm putting my foot in my mouth, but that's what I think of.
Yeah. Oh, what if the "it's okay, I'm here to help you" part? What if it was a partner in crime?
Yeah.
Telling the other perp, hey, it's okay, I'm here to help you.
That's interesting, Robert. Good thought. I mean, really interesting. When we think about the Kopaka angle, I'm actually going to write this down because that would make a lot of sense. The other thing that I heard, I believe it was Jennifer Coffendorfer saying, the FBI agent, she mentioned that, and again, this is just putting together the little tidbits we hear, but when they were talking about audio that's being, and again, it's just total speculation. When we talk about audio with a delay and why the audio isn't matching the video that AT was asking for, well, one of the things that always does that is there's a 30-second delay with body cam for cops.
Yeah.
And they do that for confidentiality reasons. Somebody also said there's like a 5-second delay for ringing doorbells. I do remember that, that there is like a 5-second delay, but it wouldn't account for what Ann was talking about. And one person said, well, let's just put a couple of these things together. We know body cams do that. And we know it's not, they're not talking about business surveillance. And then there was that saying, I'm here to help you. And so she speculated, could it have been someone dressed as a police officer?
Or an EMT.
But the body can't, I don't know. So anyway, just throwing out there, again, we're just here to talk things out, hear your ideas. We want to know what you think. Please comment. And I'm going down.
Nina said, Nina Kelly's on my side. She said, I think Xana had survived. That's the whimpers.
I'm trying to find. There's so many comments, you guys. Wait, hold on. Oh, here we go. Nina Kelly. I think Xana.
I love you, Daddy.
Didn't have to go
I
upstairs.
love you, Daddy.
That was really sweet, Robert. Yes, Nina, it's a really, it's just another really good point that fits into the things that we've heard. We can sit here and speculate all day long, and we still won't know until we see that evidence.
Yeah, because if you remember what Steve G said when they were standing outside the police station, it was him and Christie, and they were being interviewed by Fox News. They didn't have to go upstairs. That was this comment Steve G made. They didn't have to go upstairs.
Back to the house was the target, or some of the rumors and conspiracies that you and I have been talking about in the last, this week.
Yeah. I've heard, just by reading the inside looking posts over the past few days, and in the inside looking posts, it lays out that Xana and Maddie were the targets.
I didn't know that. I haven't really, I'm very keen on studying Papa Rogers. I have not given as much time to inside looking, and I probably should. Now that you mention that.
Nina Kelly said Xana's aunt posted a Facebook comment that she factually knows that Xana was attacked first.
Well, I haven't heard that one. I have some of Xana's sister-in-law's posts. I have them here. I could even show you. One thing that she does confirm, and I've heard it confirmed in two places, both from Xana's sister-in-law and Ethan's sister-in-law and Ethan's mother, both confirmed that Ethan was found in the room. They were in the same room. And that just really confuses me, because we hear about people coming in and seeing, or we hear about people not knowing that there were two people deceased, or seeing something as they come in when clearly both people were in the same room. How do you only see one person?
Yeah. I've heard so many theories about this case since I've been on it. I've only been on it, mind you, for 3 months.
Oh, really?
And I was going basically balls to the walls as soon as I got on this case, and uncovering stuff. And like I said the other night, to get to the facts of the case, you gotta go through the conspiracy theories and the speculations, and there's just something about this town that makes me wonder. Because if you look at it, Kiki, the judge is a alumni of the U of I, and Taylor is a alumni of the U of I. Bill Thompson is a alumni of the U of I. The coroner is a alumni of the U of I, and she also is a professor of law at the university. The judge's wife is a professor at the college and is a alumni of the U of I. You have, 5 people involved in this case? That's all, Ann Taylor's working for Brian. You got the prosecutor trying to put Brian away. You got the judge, kind of looking like he's twiddling his thumbs half the time. You got the coroner, who basically they didn't even do the autopsies there in Moscow. They did them in Spokane. You've got Brian Christopher Koberger sitting there in a group of sharks. His attorney works as an alumni of the university. So is the prosecutor. So is the judge. So is the coroner. So he's surrounded by sharks in that courtroom. And what always happens at the end, Kiki? Alumni protects their interests. And what is their interests? The university.
Can say, could that be why both sides and every single party said, let's tear down this house? Because we do know the Gonzalez family and the Mogan family secured their ability. If something goes wrong in this trial with the prosecutor, which is essentially the city of Moscow, or the university, they are set up to seek justice if somebody makes a mistake. And if there was a case against the university or a case against the city of Moscow, the police department, allegedly, the biggest piece of evidence would have been the processing of the crime scene or the building of the case. So the biggest piece of evidence in those cases, alleged cases, would be the house. The biggest piece of evidence in this case.
And why did they take the biggest piece of evidence and bury it?
It makes no sense to me. It never made sense, and all we can do is speculate. But I think we all feel
because Bill, I've heard this from Steve G. It came out of his mouth. Bill Thompson's ideal jurors are farmers who don't have access to TV or electronics, who are out in their fields all day long. Farmers, they like to touch stuff. They like to they like to work with their hands. Yeah, they like to see visuals. Is a farmer going to want to sit there through a trial with a pair of Oculuses on, looking at a 3D rendering of the house? You wouldn't be able to hear the creaks of the house. You wouldn't be able to hear the echoes of the way they put it. Yeah, the night of the murders. You wouldn't be able to hear the echoes or the screams or anything like that. Bill Thompson said the atmosphere in the house had changed, and he didn't want jurors going through it.
I don't know what to say. I mean, how can you put an Oculus on, and yes, you may have done everything you can to make it as precise, but I mean, it's not like you dissected the walls and you know the length of the extent of the insulation and soundproofing. And we hear these little things. We don't know what's going to be coming forward or what's going to be added to this statement, but when you have DM hearing someone say, there's someone here, and assuming that it's Kaylee, but she couldn't tell the difference between playing with the dog and the attack because of the muffled noise. So how did she hear there's someone here if it was someone on the top floor? And she didn't say yell, she said. So, I mean, there's so many confusing things to deal with the sound as it is. And I just wonder, how do you even map out sound vibrations or replicating something? I mean, so many cases we hear of somebody standing and doing a sound test. You didn't have to provide mapping and do it through Oculus. You could have just kept the evidence and done it right through the evidence.
Now, do you know that what Scott Green wants to do with that property where the house once stood?
I heard it's going to be housing.
Yes. He wants to put up student housing, like affordable, like low income apartments or a low income house.
So
He wants to get this the design the architecture students involved in it to create a housing unit for low income students. And I'm thinking if they put another damn 3-story house on that spot, I'm gonna be pissed.
it's so frustrating to hear because you hear these statements and it's like, okay, you're not telling us the real, it doesn't feel like you're telling us anything because they say, well, we want to do this for the healing of the students. And then there was a lot of money that was fundraised to help with the counseling and the healing of the students, and less than $5,000 was spent on counseling. So I understand there's like an emotional issue here and a quality of life issue for the students going there who have to walk by the house every day. But we're also talking about justice for 4 people. And if only $5,000, not to make light of mental health in any capacity, but if they're only spending such a small amount of it was like $1 million fundraised or something. What I don't know the need for the mental health of the community to tear down the house, which is speculation, but I don't know how that holds water, you know.
You see, well, a lot of that $1 million also went for room and board for ISP officers. That was staying at the local hotels and motels there in Moscow. The university was footing the bill for the ISP officers to stay there in Moscow during the investigations, and that's where part of that $1 million went.
And I'm not to change subject. I just want to let you know there something came up with AR, and he definitely isn't going to make it tonight. We kind of figured that already, but I just wanted to let you know I got an update from him in Discord. So I'm just going to write. We'll make plans soon. But
But yeah, just and it's kind of weird how Kaylee and Maddie basically grew up together, and you have Xana who didn't live that far away either in Post Falls, and then you have Dylan who was from Oregon, and then you had Bethany who was from Reno, Nevada, and I did some checking, and where they lived growing up at one were by freeways, and those freeways were drug hotspots. What happened to her, guys? I'd like to know where Kiki is too. So, how do you guys think I'm doing tonight on her panel? Thank you, Kim. I want to hear from you guys in the chat on a lot of the stuff I've been talking about tonight, especially with the house. I'm wondering if it has to do with maybe Xana's mom and Maddie's stepmom, because of the charges that they were being charged with, and then the charges got reduced, and the court dates were a few days before the unalivings. No, Kim, she lost power. There's got to be a connection somewhere. Like I was explaining to Kiki, between Ann Taylor, the judge, the prosecutor, and the coroner, and the judge's wife, and who they're all alumni of U of I. And you got Brian Kohberger sitting there around a bunch of sharks. And what always happens in the end, guys, alumni protects the interests of the university. Hey, Kiki.
Hey, hold on. Let me. Am I on stage right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Robert, I am on my cell phone. I have completely lost use of my computer. So.
What happened?
Well, the power went out. I live on Cape Cod, so I live right on the ocean, and we get the brunt of everything. And something happened. We lost power, and my generator is supposed to kick on instantly, but it took some time. And when I log on, it says server out. Actually, let me try logging on the computer again. Maybe it fixed itself. But I'm Oh, I'm back. Okay, I'll be right back, you guys. I'm gonna log out.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too, Wanda. And Kim, if it's not connected to the Quad City Task Force. I'm wondering if it was connected to the Quad City Task Force, and there was these two individuals, Tyson Farley and Tanya Rhodes. Hello.
Sorry for the drama.
I took over your show while you were gone.
Okay, you know what you're doing. What were you guys talking about?
The drug element, or the drug aspect of the case. Because if you look at it, Kara Knoedel and Corey Hatrock, you know, they both were arrested for their individual drug possessions, and they had court a few days before the unalivings, and their charges were being reduced. And there was two people that was arrested around that time. Their names are Tyson Farley and Tanya Rhodes, and they were a couple of the biggest drug traffickers there in Moscow. They get arrested like right after Kara's charges were reduced, and they were in jail, and they got out back in October of 2022. And what if, people keep saying, oh, it's a conspiracy theory about it being a drug hit. What's the best way to get to two potential informants? Going after the ones that they love to get them to shut up.
I don't know, but what I do know is we just literally read a document where they were citing precedent from 3 other cases saying informant reliability for wiretaps. The second case was also for informant reliability, and then reliability of dogs, and then talking about the probable cause affidavit. And I know they weren't saying that those are exact cases, but something about those cases is related to the precedents for this case. So
Need Some Z's just said it's all connected to Tyson and Tanya. Kara and Maddie's
let's make sure we're throwing out an
stepmom.
alleged. Hold on. I'm going to put a banner up. I just am careful when we're putting out people's first and last names that we're saying alleged, because honestly, we don't.
In my own opinion and speculation, let's just
Yeah,
say
I'm
that.
putting up a banner right now. We just want to be careful. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that you, I'm just saying in the chat, but I have to be careful what I show and say on the screen, not you guys. Thank you for all your comments. They're wonderful. And I'm pulling it up. Okay, where do we leave off? It's all connected. There we go. And thank you for not leaving out the last names, Tyson, Tanya. And thank WS. Hunter's words at the memorial were not his own, in my opinion. He and other students who spoke were told that to say. I have had a problem, and I hate to, like, again, I'm really sensitive to what I'm saying, and I'm not trying to offend. I've wanted to say things about what Hunter said in his eulogy before.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is if you're at that celebration of life, there were like at least 2 pastors there. And I'm thinking to myself, if you're not experienced enough as a young and adult to write a eulogy where you're focusing on the person who died rather than you, and making sure you're saying things to honor them and not just respect them, like, I find it odd that that was the way the eulogy came out, knowing that there were worship leaders there to help. Like, did he just say, no, I'll write this on my own? But I find it weird that some things were brought up. We all heard it. I don't need to elaborate on that. But yeah.
Just like the letters from Dylan and Bethany. Yeah, my people greatly impacted my life and made me so happy. It's supposed to be about Kaylee and Maddie. It's not supposed to be about Dylan.
and as a young adult, I can see where you would make the mistake and not know how to do that. But what shocks me is what they're young college students. Why weren't they? I mean, it's in their nature to seek. They're in school. They would be seeking help, doing something they've never done before, writing a eulogy, writing a letter. Like, where was the guidance? And so, what it's funny that they say, well, they were told to write that. Well, it's so slightly awkward to begin with. Maybe I would believe
It comes out at me. Yes, it's awkward. It also comes out as I'm better than you. My people, my life made me so happy. She comes out as a snob or arrogant, which she probably wasn't trying to do. I mean, like you said, that she was told to write it. She could have asked for help in writing that letter, instead of making it all of it sounded like it was all about her.
And where was somebody to catch it? I mean, it went through filters. It went through yeah, it's very odd. It is very odd. So I would say, your theory is as good as mine when WSU Mom Kim says it feels like somebody wrote that. They were told to say that. It's like, what? Well, there isn't a great explanation why it came out the way it did. So that's as good as any.
Yeah, see, just like the statement from Pi. They were talk about losing 3 angels. Maddie, Kaylee, and Xana. And then not more than 2 weeks later, they did another post. We put up a memorial tree. Feel free to come by, put an angel for those that we have lost. Like, didn't even mention their names. Didn't mention Kaylee, didn't mention Maddie, didn't mention Xana. For those that we have lost.
It's kind of like when you say that, it reminds me of how the president, Scott Green, just came out and said, okay, when we have our healing garden, when we build it with the money that was fundraised off the names of these 4 young people, it's going to be for everyone who's passed on, who served at U of I. And I mean, I'm not saying it should or shouldn't. It's just, it is it seems like along the way these things keep running in where a sensitivity chip is missing in the programs these people are developing. Like, I don't know. The definition of socially awkward, I believe, is something along the lines of, something that obviously is not socially acceptable to the rest of us, yet because you like it, you decide to inflict it on someone. And it's like, are we watching? Like, that's what I feel like we're watching here.
Yeah, I feel like we're watching a sensitivity exercise gone wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
And they were going to build it right there where the house once stood. It was Maisie and Hunter Chapin who told them that they would rather than build the memorial garden there on the college, because Hunter Chapin has even came out and said that he's glad the house is gone, because every time he looked at it, it reminded him that his brother died in a house of horrors.
It just broke my heart. It breaks my heart to hear him say that. What are you surmising from that? When you say that, you just bringing up the quote, or do you feel that it correlates to something?
Well, I've heard from yes, I've heard from several people. Hunter Chapin's had an ex post about it, but he deleted the post after the murders. Ethan's parents, especially his mom, didn't like Xana because Xana came from the wrong side of the tracks that they were. Ethan was trying to help Xana, trying to help Xana be a better person.
Okay.
Yeah, he wanted to see Xana to be a better person. Yeah, so he was helping her get away from a lot of the stuff she was involved with before he met her. And his parents, especially his mom, didn't like Xana because she was, quote unquote, the wrong side of the tracks.
Robert, is this something that was stated that we heard online speculations about, or is this just kind of is this a theory? Like where did we hear
Hunter Chapin posted on his on Twitter before he deleted the post right after the murders. He had stated, and I quote, "I wish my brother would date somebody more his lifestyle.
Oh.
My mom doesn't like her." This is what Hunter Chapin said in his post. "My mom doesn't like her. My mom thinks she's the wrong side of the tracks. My dad thinks she's not good enough for him." And then, right after the murders, that post disappears.
That's terrible. It's so sad. I feel bad. I feel bad for the brother too, because God, you can't take that. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, Ethan's mom
But I've
did
never
say
heard
they
that
got to. Yeah, what's that? And she was lovely. Then why was Ethan saying that his mom hated her? Do you think maybe Ethan was speaking for himself and Maisie?
And we know that Xana spent a lot of time with them and the fraternity. I mean, they're young. They could have had a fight or a falling out too. So that is an interesting point, Curious Rose, too. It's so sad, just the dynamics of this. Even if they have nothing to do with it, it breaks your heart that,
April 1 said, "Stacy said that after the fact and didn't want to be rude to all of the world, in my opinion."
That's a good point. That's a good point too, April, and she should, just as out of respect for the deceased. Wow, this got really deep here tonight. Things that I wasn't expecting to talk about. Robert, I've taken quite a bit of your time. I was thinking of calling it a night. What are your thoughts? You want to keep going for a little bit longer?
I say 10 more minutes, then we call it.
All right, guys, we'll do 10 more minutes.
Because we got a good conversation with the chat going.
Yeah, and I'm going to. All right, hold on. Okay, Curious Rose has this comment. Yes, I think Stacy spoke up because she was getting hate for not saying anything about Xana.
Yeah, well, I'd like to know. Yeah, your son gets murdered at the college. Why would you allow your other two? Why would you allow his other two siblings to go back to that college where he was murdered at?
Before they even found the person, too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but because here's the thing. They put out a vandal alert at 1:30, telling everyone to shelter in place. I think it was like an hour or two later, they lift the shelter in place, and just told everybody to be vigilant. Why would you lift the shelter in place 2 hours after you put it in place?
No, it makes no sense. But I can even, what even gets to me, Robert, is like if you think about Jasmine, Xana's sister at WSU. So, you know, everybody's told to go about their lives and they're safe. And they've got this person they're suspecting of it going to school right close to the sister of one of the victims. I mean, I don't know what you're supposed to do, but I don't think you're supposed to lift it and say everybody's safe, be vigilant. We don't think there's a continued threat, unless, of course, there's that thing. We don't know what we don't know. There's some reason why nobody else could possibly be a victim. But if you think of a spree on the Liver, like you think that if they've gotten to the point where they've done that they then are on such a high you'll commit another crime. I just don't know under what circumstance we say, just be vigilant. We feel the threat is on. And then you got Jasmine right there.
April says, another terrific question, Robert. It makes no sense at all. I wouldn't have let my children go back ever.
And Steve has a son who goes to school at U of I too. So it's all his family as well.
Yeah, from the last thing I heard, his son now does online. His son refuses to. From the last thing I've heard from one of the interviews that Steve G did, his son refuses to step foot back on the property of the U of I. He now does online only.
Really? Well, that's kind of the reaction I would have. We can't judge people's reaction, but I mean, that seems like a natural reaction.
And why would a coroner, Kiki, tell a 17-year-old girl over the phone how her sister died?
Makes
and the manner of her death. She tells Kaylee's 17-year-old sister how she died, how many stab wounds she had, and what they look like.
But they weren't allowed to actually make an announcement until a police officer comes to the door. It's so contradictory to the two things that they had to wait there all night for hours and hours for policemen to show up. But yet a coroner can call and not ask to speak with the parent or the next of kin of the person and tell a minor child about gruesome details to an autopsy report. It seems like it just seems like it's fake because it's so unreal. I know. And then
why here's what I still wrestle with this. Why were we told the toxicology report doesn't matter?
Yeah. Why? Because, you have 4 people where one person committed it. I think of things like, what about chloroform? Or like, I don't know. Chloroform is the only thing I can think of. But toxicology reports, I mean, how did 4 people not put up the fight that we would expect that would involve, hey, Surrey, call 911. Oops, I hope my Surrey doesn't call 911. But you know what I mean? Why no drug test?
Yeah.
How could that be a thing? Like, how is that information not relevant?
Yeah. I mean, them telling us, the toxicology report don't matter. I mean, did they do the toxicology report and then just, it don't matter? I mean, I've heard that they didn't find anything in the toxicology report, but if they didn't find anything, then they should have said, hey, we didn't find anything. Their toxicology was clean, instead of it don't matter.
How could it not matter? I mean, we say these things like, how could you tear down the house? How could it not matter? It's like we're just saying it, screaming at a brick wall.
That's a good question by April.
Another thing is, why did SG or KG drive their phone first giving the text? This is a good point. Drive their first getting the texts and phone calls about Kaylee being shot. They were only an hour and a half away. I don't know. And my God, I don't know. I think that maybe they were told to stay home. I don't know. Maddie's parents were taken in immediately and they were questioned for like 5 hours. But I've heard the reason, and they were questioned and they had to wait for them to get done before they could talk to the Gonzalez family. And so I've speculated, okay, well, Maddie was the target because they were in there so long and so fast. And then I've heard, no, it's because Maddie's parents showed up at the scene. They were already there, so they just took them in. So it can't be that they were, I mean, I would assume they didn't tell the parents they had to stay home. The other thing is, like, why didn't, I don't know, part of the family go? These are really good questions, April.
Yeah. And here's another thing. Why is the Gonzalez family the only family speaking out? You don't hear nothing from the Kernodles. You don't hear nothing from the Chapins. You don't hear nothing from the Mogans. Every time you turn on a TV, you see Steve's face, you see Christy's face, and you see Olivia's face. Why is that? Why is that family the only one doing the press tours and the press runs, where the Mogans, the Chapins, and the Kernodles are silent?
Could it be for a distraction? I mean, they all want us to look at Kaylee and Kaylee's story, so we don't look at the real target or what really happened. I mean, remember in our live stream the other night, we were reading an article back in the day of BK that would be so useful for profiling, and you would assume people would have wrote an article after article about it, but nothing. And it could be when there is some real good parts that they're going to use when they prosecute BK, they hold those out or exclude those. WS1.
Now, I do know from listening to a Steve G interview that before they tore the house down, they went in and cut sections of the wall. The FBI went in and cut sections of the walls out that had the like blood splatter and stuff. The FBI went in and cut sections of the walls out. That's why when they tore the house down, you saw those big rectangular missing pieces. That was from the FBI cutting that section of the wall out for evidence.
Blood spatter, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It was blood spatter that that they'd cut. The FBI cut out that section of the wall. That's why, if you notice when they tore it down, you saw those big section of the wall being cut. Yeah, it was cut out like in a rectangle.
Mm-hmm.
That was from the FBI removing that section of wall.
That makes sense. I mean, a lot of them look like crawl spaces or little doors. That makes perfect. Kim says, it might be helpful to watch Ethan's at his funeral. I do believe Ethan's mom thought that, but I don't believe Ethan felt that way. I'm going to say this. Stacey didn't even give Jim kids any place for her kids. That's kind of sad. That's really sad. Curious Rose says, I think Xana and Maddie's families are keeping quiet because this is drug related. But Steve's yeah. So either he's on, maybe he's doing it for them. But I just feel like Steve Steve is working in concert with the prosecution in some way, especially, and I will tell you guys, especially when that whole alibi thing went down in the camp, the Gonzalez camp did some counter, I felt like countermeasures for PR. I can't prove that. I'm just saying allegedly, but I just thought it was interesting that they showed some interesting documents the same day. Some critical things came out about the prosecution of PK. And so, yeah, could the Gonzalez be working in concert with the prosecution? It feels that way. And then
Yeah, Phil Biggs just said, I did traumatic restoration for years. After the property is released, all materials exposed to biomaterial has to be removed.
so if they're going to tear the house down, they still have to remove it? Or is that just if they're going to restore the house?
According to Scott Green, I never thought I'd utter his name again. According to Scott Green, the reason why they buried the house was to keep the murder memorabilia, people that's interested in murder memorabilia, to keep them from getting a hold of a piece of the house for their macabre collection.
I hate that they look at that like macabre. I'm gonna be honest, like, you guys, does it make me weird that, like, if I almost would put a, I don't know, I almost would feel like I'd hold a piece of, I don't know. I don't, is that macabre to, I should shut up right now. I don't know. Is that a reason to tear down the most viable piece of evidence? The place where people can stand and feel the crime scene and hear the sounds. Rory from Thou Shalt Not Kill did a ton of footage of the 1122 King Road home, and he used to always say, you guys, when you get here, it feels differently. Like, you have to be able to feel what it's like to be here to get this. I don't know what he means by that, and I don't think the jury will ever know now. Curious Rose did respond when I was saying, is Steve working in concert with the prosecution? She says Steve is in his own island. And
yeah, he is in his own island. Yeah, if you remember him standing up in the police station, don't make me be the alpha. When he was going on that tirade about how he paid for it, he said I paid for this. I sent my daughter to school and she came back in a box. Don't make me be the alpha. And then he went on to coin the term. Steve G did. This came out of his mouth in that interview. The injury patterns didn't match.
the what?
The injury patterns didn't match. Phil Biggs said, aside from the obvious value of the location, tearing down the house may indicate the sheer magnitude of the contamination involved.
And Kim says, it's such a hard thing. My daughter was 21 and adult. She loved school. At what point does my fraternity and my FRA and comfort come first? It doesn't. It was a parenting lesson that has no instructions. It was awful. Yeah, Kim, I feel the same way. I'm just glad that we have you here to give us your story. Oh, and then somebody said something about Rory. Rory said it was like an amphitheater or a fishbowl as far as the sound and the way the Linda Lane apartments. You're so right. I forgot about that part. So when the high side of the house, right? The whole big line in Papa Rogers that always makes me think this is someone who knows about the case. The high side of the house When you come up, you see this big stairwell, and that stairwell goes up to the Linda Lane Apartments. And the way that it forms is kind of like this. It looks like a hourglass figure as it comes out on the road. And his exact quote was, "It's like a fishbowl. It's like an amphitheater over here." So I thought that was a good observation. Thank you, April.
I wanted to get your opinion on this, Kiki, before we shut it down. Do you feel that the kids there, like Dylan, Bethany, Kaylee, Maddie, and Xana, do you feel that they were harassed by the police?
Wait, say it
On
one
all
more.
those-
Say the
do
question.
you-
one more.
Okay, do you feel, in your own opinion, that the girls there in the home were harassed by the local PD for all those noise complaints on a daily basis?
Well, I haven't seen evidence on a daily basis, and I don't know. I don't. If somebody showed me evidence, I'm open to believing anything. What I saw was not too unusual from what I saw. I didn't see anything too out of the. I didn't see anything necessarily out of the ordinary. I do think that they were the party house. I mean, not everybody gets, free noise complaints in a year, but also maybe it's because of the fun I had when I was that age. I don't find it that odd. I don't know, but I would be
Yeah.
open to anything. And I get that a lot of people, one thing I will say is some of the noise complaints weren't necessarily for that house. It appeared that they showed up for other reasons or were told that the noise complaint was at their house. I have heard that before, that there wasn't a record or a reason why they walked up to the 1122 King Road home at a certain point. But that's the only thing. And again, I'm speaking completely off cuff here, so I would have to do some research. But I guess a better answer is I don't know, Robert. Probably. What are your thoughts?
I mean, if you would like to do this, I wouldn't mind setting up a live stream on my channel with you on panel on my channel. I want to go through the body cam footage of the responding officers, for every noise complaint. They're at the 1122 King Road house, and there was one, I don't know if you've seen it, where these officers showed up and there was somebody left their backpack outside, and the officers started going through the backpack and dumping the alcohol out. And it wasn't their property.
Yeah. Was it a minor? Or they just didn't know who it was and they were just dumping it out?
There, a guy came out and he stated he was 21 when he came out. While they were in the process of dumping out all of his alcohol that was in his backpack, which he left in front of the car there on the property, and the stuff they were dumping out was White Claws, like a bunch of White Claws, and the guy came out and says, "Yeah, that was my backpack and my alcohol. Oh, well, we thought it was abandoned. It was just sitting out here. So, but here's your backpack back." While they were in the process of dumping out all of his alcohol.
Yeah, that does sound like, why else would you do that other than just to harass people? I don't have a good explanation of why they did that. I would like to agree to
Bill
doing that.
Bill Biggs just said, "Hey, look, abandoned property." That's exactly what they said. "Hey, look, abandoned property."
So what's still the point in dumping it? It's so stupid. I wish I knew why Xana told Jasmine by text that she hated going to Pullman. Why did Jasmine have all of them? These are very perplexing questions, Kim. I would like to know the answer to these too. I never heard that before about the blankets. And I didn't hear that she didn't like to go to Pullman either. Interesting. Kim's a good researcher. She's got a pretty good memory too.
Yeah, she told me earlier in the chat that she watches my stuff, but she's scared to comment on my stuff because of the mystique, the mystique that she has, and she doesn't want to bring hate to my channel.
That's so hard to hear. Well, I wish we didn't have to worry about anything. It's like we're all tap dancing around. Kim, I appreciate you care so much about us. Thank you for caring. I think Robert won't mind though if you come. What do you think, Robert? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind her commenting.
We'll see. We got a few more here. I don't think. Okay.
The officer said the kids ran around back after dropping the alcohol. No, yeah, they found the backpack sitting in front of a car, and the guy that the backpack belonged to came out of the house. And there was one where one of the officers was looking into the spare room, and the officer actually uttered the words "stupid effing kids."
Well, I would like to do a deep dive on this, Robert. I'm writing it down so I know what to research. But you get a live stream other than tomorrow night, and you're welcome to jump up too. We're doing some PCA work. I have 12 gauge might be joining us, but anyway, we're gonna do PCA tomorrow night. And I don't have any other evening plans. I have a couple afternoon live streams. So if you want to do that, give me a time and I'll put it priority. But I have, like I said, I have pretty much evenings available right now. I don't have everything booked past tomorrow. So let me know. Let's get a live stream scheduled for that.
Well, we could do it Saturday evening.
What time?
7 my time, 8 your time.
All right, so 8 o'clock. So we're gonna do Were the Police Harassing the 1122 King Road Home? If anyone's interested, that'll be a great one. We'll do that on Robert's channel, True Crime Colt 162, just so you guys have the handle. And then what did we have here? All three of the girls. You guys, I'm in UK now. It's 3:30 in the morning. Oh, Leon, well, thank you. Good night, Leon. U of I made a hefty amount of money on the 1122.
Well, I bet. I mean, after all, since the house was gifted to them by Dan Esty.
And yeah. And so it's gifted to them. You would think that the right thing to do is to help get the justice for the kids. And I don't understand why they would turn to the prosecution and say, well, would it affect your case if we tore this down? Like, isn't it just like an obvious thing that would,
yeah.
Like, how is it even a question? I feel like we're being so gaslit. I don't want to be crude, but it's like that old saying, don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. Like,
yeah.
Like, you don't have to, any layman can see this is the biggest piece of evidence to the case. I obviously am not over the house being demoed, as you can tell.
Yeah, even Steve G, Steve, it was the Gonzalez's and the Mogans that did not want the house torn down. No, it's Gonzalez's and the Cronodals didn't want the house torn down. The Mogans didn't care if it was still standing. The Chapins said go ahead and tear it down. I watched an interview, the only interview that Ben Mogan did, and he doesn't watch the news. He sees anything about the case come on the news, he turns the channel. He said he's happy just getting reports through his email from Bill Thompson. He doesn't even want to, quote unquote, I don't even want to see the guy's face on TV. Yeah, I see something about the case on TV, I turn it, or I turn my TV off.
Poor man. God be with him. Robert, did you see this comment that WSU mom Kim left? I'll just call you Kim. I don't know why I call you WSU mom. She said they didn't even give Kaylee a diploma of graduation. The Chapin parents got them, however, last year.
So did the Mogans, and so did the Kernodles.
Why wouldn't Kaylee get her? I mean, Kaylee was graduating earlier, I thought. Even if she wasn't graduate earlier, she should be getting an honorary degree, I would imagine. I mean,
yeah, she was graduating that December. But yet the Mogans got one, the Kernodles got one, the Chapins got one, and even Hunter and Maisie got an honorary scholarship in Ethan's name. A memorial scholarship in Ethan's name. Hunter and Maisie got that.
I mean, I'm okay with that, but again, that's assuming everything's on the up and up. You know, I'm okay with it. Like, I mean, if they're fundraising for one of their fallen brothers, I think the first thing you can think of is to maybe help their siblings continue on. But I'm always open to explanations on that. Like, I never really had a problem with them receiving those scholarships. But the diploma, why are they punishing? Why would they not give an honorary degree for Kaylee after all of? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. That's really blowing my mind, Kim. I never knew that. Oh, whoops, that's not the one. The one you put it. And then there's nothing. Police ever showed up. Well, no police ever showed up, and my daughters live out, and she loved college. She was supposed to. These kids were enjoying life. The only sad picture I've seen is of Dylan. That's a good point. I've never seen a sad picture of any of them.
You see, there was a post on Twitter that I ran across, and I actually did a short about it, and it was Dylan posing. It was Dylan posing, and Dylan made a comment that she missed Maddie the most and didn't miss Xana.
What? Wait. This was an erased tweet?
Yes. And I just happened to get a hold of it before it was erased, and I made a short about it.
Well, okay, let's see it.
You're gonna have to look on my shorts.
Okay, hold on. Which one, Robert?
You have to go down. I did quite a few shorts. You'll be able to see it behind me. Right, up.
Oh, wait, it's down here, I think. Oh, no, wait, up?
Yeah. No, go down.
Oh, Chihuahua.
Yeah. Not go up. I believe it's that one right there.
This one?
No, the one with me in.
United States.
Huh?
That says democracy in the United States.
Okay, let's see. That should be the tweet right there. I think it's a tweet now. I'm looking for mine in too.
Wyndham Ronta, aka Bray Wyatt, has died. That one.
Yeah, Wyndham Rotunda.
Wait, I found it.
That's
there
it
it
right
is.
there.
All right, here we go.
Who is Dylan Mortensen, or what is she hiding? Because she posted 4 days after the murders at 10:40 p.m. that she missed Maddie, and she didn't miss Xana, and she blamed Xana for Maddie's murder. So what's going on with her? Who is Dylan Mortensen, or what is she hiding? Because she posted
Can you
4
see
days
the
after the
tweet
murders
behind
at
me?
10:40 p.m. that she missed Maddie, and she did.
Okay, so here it says, look inside the, oh, it doesn't, you can't read it. Interesting, Robert. Good insight. Okay, we've got some comments. Okay, I found a little odd that Hunter Chapin received the first EC scholarship. That, just like Robert said, the Chapins are certainly not financially challenged. Just think it's odd, in my opinion. And Curious Rose, that was Robert's point. I was the one who said I had no problem with it. Robert's saying the same, agrees with you. If you pull up the Pullman police officer Willis, it's pretty tame-ish, but very different from Moscow. Kids' faces are blurred. Okay, so that one, I know Robert, she's referencing the body cam video. So I'm noting that, Kim, and we are going to look at that tomorrow. So thank you. And then, no, that seems straight suspicious. They made Maisie Sigma Chi sweetheart. It's a nice gesture, but I don't think they're getting the full picture. I didn't like that they made her sweetheart. Not because for any reason that I didn't think she should be that title. I always heard, I guess I have a different, like, my nephews have put a different definition of the fraternity sweetheart in my head than what I think they think at U of I. Oh, I'm curious. I would probably get hate for saying this, but the Chapins are just suspicious in this whole thing to me. You know who else has pushed that theory quite a bit is Harsh Reality over time. If you guys have questions, I can try to find answers. I know, Kim, you're really helpful to us, and we love you for that. Thank you. You're the only person who's willing to talk to us from that area, and we're happy to have you here on our team, metaphorically helping us figure this out. Oh. I'm starting to really, really start yawning, you guys. I probably should wrap it up for the night.
I'm gonna have to carry my my daughter to bed. She's passed out on the couch over here.
I remember her. I thought she was saying "I love you" to you earlier.
She was.
And so I figured she was either going to bed, but the cutest part is she fell asleep next to you while you were live streaming. So that's really sweet. And we're glad you're making it a family affair. We like that a lot. So thanks for sharing.
You're welcome. Yeah, here's something. Here's something that might get you thinking. Brent Kopacka lived in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. So did Brian. Could they have known each other since they lived in Albrightsville together? Well, we both know that Brian lived in the Poconos with his mom and his dad. Brent lived in Albrightsville. Could they have known each other? Being in the same area? because I find it kind of odd and weird that Brent goes out to Pullman. A few minutes later, Brian goes out to Pullman, and their apartment complexes are less than a mile apart.
It's so weird. I'm not. At first, I didn't want to explore Kopaka, but I want to know more, and I find that the radio silence about him. One of the things WSU mom Kim says is there's no chatter about Kopaka whatsoever. It was so shut down so quickly. There's not even rumors about it. But yeah, I want to know more, and it's too odd, too coincidental. We have them coming from roughly the same place in Pennsylvania. Just so many odd circumstances. But yeah, I agree.
Now we know that we've heard from I call them the mainstream media that Brian at one point was a user of meth and heroin. Well, what if Brent was his supplier there in Pennsylvania before Brian got clean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And he is a veteran. I haven't seen any evidence of him being involved in. I didn't see evidence of him being unless you have. I haven't seen evidence of him being involved with, drugs. But him being so very close in proximity to Brian.
Yeah, their apartment complexes were like less than a mile from each other there in Pullman.
Just so many weird things about his arrest too. Never sat well with me. But anyway.
I'm going to jump down from here and I'm going to go carry my precious little 9-year-old to bed.
All right. Well, Robert, we thank you again. It's been a great live. I appreciate your time and I can't wait to see you 8 o'clock. We're going to do 8 o'clock on Friday and
Saturday.
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 I'm write the days down. So I should write that right now. So I don't. Saturday. All right. Saturday, 8 o'clock. We're going to be live streaming on Robert's channel. And tomorrow I'm going to be live streaming with, well, anyway, I'll put announcements as they come. I love all you guys. Thank you for being with us. I am going to play an outro, just show some pictures of everything we're talking about and give you guys.
You're welcome, Christy. She said thank you, Robert, in big letters.
I would like to also say thank you to Christy because she has been through this whole entire live stream, keeping the chat classy. And we appreciate that. Thank you for keeping it classy in the chat. Giving us such great comments to display. I mean, it just makes the show unbelievable. Thank you, Phil. Thank you to everyone. I'm going to play you a little outro. Robert, God bless you, and get your little daughter to bed. And the rest of you, we're doing all this in the spirit of justice for Idaho 4.